Hello, everybody. My name is Phil McDougall. I'm the president of the National Automobile Museum, and you're on What Drives Reno. Today, we're very, very excited. We have two amazing guests with us here today. First one is Miss Deb Pollock. She's the founder of the national nonprofit foundation Drive Towards a Cure. And we also have Mindy Lokshin, and she's the board chair and acting director for the Parkinson's Support Center of Northern Nevada. That's a long title.
It is.
And I did it the first time. Welcome, welcome. We're here to talk about our special event that's going to take place on April 18th. But before we get into that, I have a question. We ask everybody on the show, what was your first car? And if there's a short story about it, we want to jump right into it.
Yeah, first car that was my car that was given to me was a 1970 Chevelle. Puke green, 4-door, bad engine, not what you'd want.
Did you pick the color?
I did not. My dad actually picked that as a new car after he turned in his wonderful 67 Bug that I cried when he got rid of. And he wanted a family car for us to drive across country in. So we did that, and then 5 years later, it got to be mine.
Your car. Yeah. And you were happy to have just
I was happy to have wheels.
Mindy, how about you?
My first car that I learned to drive in was a 1972 blue Dodge Coronet. And ever since then, I've got to say, I do like blue cars. I think sometimes it's that first car you have, that color sticks with you, but maybe not yours.
Yeah.
No.
Isn't it funny? Most people remember their first car right away. They don't really even take a second. They remember that because it's such a significant part of their life. First time they got freedom, got a car.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes the color isn't what they want, but they just want the wheels and they want the freedom.
Even before it was yours. I mean, the first car that I drove stick shift on, I was 15. It was my mom's 50th birthday, and my cousin had, of all things, a brand new Targa, Porsche Targa. And she said, "Do you want to learn to drive stick?" And I said, "Yeah." And there's not one photo of me from that party because we went outside and she got on the floor with her hands on my feet saying, "Smooth, smooth." And I've never driven anything but a stick since.
There you go. See, you made that impression. Okay, today we have something really exciting, and we're really, really proud to be part of it. It's going to take place on April 18th, 2024 at the National Automobile Museum. Tell us what's taking place.
Oh, we've got an evening of music in motion. It's going to be wonderful. First of all, let me jump back because what we're doing is, for those that don't know what Drive Toward a Cure is, we're a 501c3 nonprofit that supports Parkinson's. And because I've been an executive in the automotive industry for a long time, I wanted, when we started this, not only to honor my mom, who I had lost from Parkinson's, but to honor folks within the automotive industry that had Parkinson's, from some that I was friends with, some that I knew, and many that are out there. And so we started a nonprofit, and we've expanded through the automotive community at large to raise a lot of funds nationwide for those that are challenged by Parkinson's. And we try to give money to the places that are local, where we are doing events. And we wanted to do something up in Reno. Your museum was a great find. We got to know Mindy and her Parkinson's Support Center of Northern Nevada, and decided what better way to put everything together than to have an event here.
Perfect. Mindy, tell us about your role then.
Yes, well, our organization is just 3 years new. We are the only organization helping people with Parkinson's disease in Northern Nevada. And because it's 3 years, I think 3 years ago, that was height of COVID, we started with just a website of all the local resources that we could find for people living with the disease and their families, for what they could find that would help them live their best life. Since then, we've developed support groups that we call community groups. We have a mentor program matching people with newly diagnosed with those who have experienced the disease for a while. And we're just thrilled to have this event to help raise awareness. April is Parkinson's Awareness Month worldwide, and this is just a way to let the world know more about what Parkinson's disease is, how many people it affects, and what we're all doing to try to help make everybody live better.
That's great. So 3 years ago, there was no representation in Northern Nevada, or wow.
Is that crazy?
That is crazy. Well, thank you for what you're doing, because most people I know, when I first met you, Deb, I had a really dear friend, and he went through Parkinson's, and he from the time he was diagnosed, it was only a few years. It was really aggressive.
Yeah,
with
the
him.
challenges are tough.
Yeah.
And everybody's symptoms are quite different. There are some things that are similar, but no one is exactly the same. And for me, and wanting to start our foundation, based on knowing what my mom went through, what her daily challenges were.
And that's your connection, was your mom.
It was my mom.
Right.
But here's the thing, we give a lot of money for research. Of course, we support the Michael J. Fox Foundation. Right. It's really important what they do. But I fear that there won't be a cure in my lifetime. So for me, I also look at, how can we help people right now? And that's patient care. And patient care is anything from nutrition and fitness to better ways to enjoy life, to helping with resources that give them just community so that they can share together and realize that they're not alone. And we team up with the Parkinson's Foundation also, which has 35 centers of excellence throughout the country. And everywhere we go, we have people that do one-day drives on our behalf. We do our own multi-day drive programs. The automotive community has been so good to us. Since 2016 when we started, we've raised more than $1 million. And that's from donors, participants, volunteers, and people that just want to get out and drive.
Well, I'm going to give you a compliment because in the short time I've known you, it's refreshing to hear so many people have contributed to that. But I can tell you, it's because your personality and your perseverance. You're on a mission, and if we had people like you, more of you, that would be a much easier to hit your goal in the lifetime, wouldn't it?
Oh gosh, well, thanks.
It makes a big difference. You got to have people that are passionate to get the word out, educate people. But the services you just mentioned, that's everything. They need so much, and people don't remember.
Well, it's crazy too because, like I said, we do these drives throughout the country and it's all because of people you meet. The car community is so incestuous. Everybody knows somebody who knows somebody. And everybody has a common bond because they like to get out and drive and they want to talk about cars. So, we've got a group up in the Pacific Northwest that has raised a ton of money for us. And through that, we were able to create a caregiver academy. Down in Kentucky, every year we do a day of open touring laps at the National Corvette Museum's track that's down there, and we've given money to Vanderbilt. And two of the things that we've done, one is we give scholarships throughout the country to Rocksteady boxing clinics so people can get fitness and get their exercise and their nutrition in. But we also give to Vanderbilt, which created fellowship programs for fifth-year doctor residents that wanted to learn more about mobility for Parkinson's. And then later we'll be talking to Rashida Ali.
That's exciting.
And she'll be on with us. But, her dad's foundation, the Muhammad Ali Foundation, is part of the Barrow Neurological Institute in Arizona. And we did some driving programs out there with a group called the Taste of Motorsports. And the money that we raised during the pandemic went for a Hispanic choir. They wanted to have more of the people within their community participating, and because everybody was home, it was really difficult. And by doing this choir, we accomplished three separate things. We helped those that were challenged to, number one, gain a little bit more self-esteem in how they were feeling and what they were doing. It also allowed them to have a little bit less isolation because they were able to sometimes get out and sing as a group and other times to do it virtually. As a Zoom or online. And the third thing and most important was it exercised their vocal cords. And so we did things that were helping patients. It wasn't like just singing, and it was giving money for something good. So
I think it's important for people who are watching right now. There's so many different ways that people can help and contribute. Never would have thought that would have been an example, but you just said it touched on so many different ways. And that particular way is the camaraderie and the singing, the music, but specifically the help
vocal cords.
Vocal cords.
Exactly.
It's a big part of it.
Exactly.
Okay, let's dive in a little bit about the event. Tell us what's happening, what cars are coming. You got a whole bunch of stuff you pulled together.
Well, I got to tell you, first of all, I got to thank you because you've made it happen, Phil. We couldn't have done this without your kindness and generosity and the ability to really create a great event in more than 100,000 square feet of a great museum that's really thematic and it's fun to go through.
It's a great partnership, but I got to tell you, just a quick example that I had a chance, we met in person for the first time up at the show at the Wynn in the concourse there. And talk about people connected. We were sitting down there just meeting and talking, and it was like Norm on Cheers. Everyone that walked by knew you, and you were jumping up to say hi, and you were always talking about the event and the cause. you were never off mission. So I admire that. But talk about connecting and passionate. You sure are, Deb.
Well, I'll tell you, years ago, I mentioned I'm in the automotive industry. I'm a publicist for a Porsche brand called Singer Vehicle Design. Right. And I've been with them since 2009. And before that, I was with Ferrari and Maserati, where I had the chance to get to know Phil Hill, America's first Formula One champion. Not only because he raced for Ferrari and Maserati, but because he didn't live far, and he also had Parkinson's. And he was treated at the same facility where my mom was treated. So we had a lot of commonality. And after I lost my mom and Phil was still alive, we did a couple programs to support him. And after he passed on, he kind of became an inspiration when we were starting the whole thing. And I realized there's something about the car community. There's a bond here. So one of the most special cars we're going to have here, which I'm calling our Halo car, belongs to a collector in Arizona. And it's a 1952 Jag C-Type that Phil not only raced, but signed the back seats of. And there's I guess it's the fuel cap that's on the front that's engraved with the races that he did that year and the wins that he had. And so I'm super excited for that, just inspirationally to be here. And we're also going to have a 1932 Roadster. It's called a Speedway Special, and it was built by a guy named Sean Killian in San Diego, who's showing it this weekend at the Grand National Roadster Show. Sean came to me because he heard about our charity, and he's a car builder. He's an award-winning hot rodder, and he happens to have a son who has early onset Parkinson's. And his son is only 31. He was diagnosed 2 years ago, and he said, he's going through so much, and I don't know what I can do for my son. I want to find a way to help people that are similar to him. What can I do? And he said, I think I'm going to build a car, but I need a partnership where I can use that car for good. And I said, you found us. And so he's going to show the car there. He's going to show the car up here at our event. We'll show it again in May at the Sacramento, I think it's called the Autorama. And then we're going to auction it off. And that's going to create a new initiative for us for young onset Parkinson's.
Well, that's great. You brought in a lot of people, including Hagerty. This show is fueled by Hagerty.
Yes,
that's one of our partners,
yes,
and we're very grateful for their support. And a partner of yours and a partner of ours at the National Automobile Museum as well. But we're very thankful for their support.
Hagerty's great. They've been with us since day one. They have been a presenting sponsor for something we do every summer to get people out and drive. At the beginning of the pandemic, actually, we could no longer do, obviously, our multi-day programs. And so we started something called the 75 Days of Summer, starting at Father's Day weekend and heading through Labor Day. And during those 75 days, anyone across the country can sign up. It costs $20. And with that $20, our goal is really for them to do a fundraising page. But they get a goodie bag, and the program is fueled by Hagerty. And what it also does is we get sponsors throughout the summer that give us prizes. And what they do is we give out weekly random prize drawings every single Friday. And so there's nothing that we have that's probably less than $100. I mean, people like Harman Kardon Stereo give us earbuds and speakers and Bluetooths. We've got gift cards. We've got autographed books, all kinds of things to make people have an incentive to participate. But at the end of the program, we've asked them to count their miles and to count how much money they've raised. So for every mile that you drive, you get a point. And for every dollar that you raise, you get a point. So it could be any combination to win the final prize. And the final prizes are from people like Michelin that give us a set of tires every year. We've got performance driving schools like Radford and Skip Barber that give us a day that we can offer as a prize.
And these aren't like, Blue Light Special. These are amazing prizes you have. These are
they're
great.
Awesome. And that's
awesome
because
prizes.
I told you, people in the automotive community care.
They do.
They all help each other. And that's the bottom line. So, Hagerty's been there for us for that. They're helping support this podcast. They're part of many things that we do.
Yeah, they're a great partner of ours as well. A couple questions. So for those people that aren't familiar with it, is there something specific that you want to make sure that they're communicate to the people watching today, just about the organization?
Yeah, we have clubs and groups and organizations and individuals that put together one-day programs on our behalf, and that could be anything. We had a guy in Atlanta last weekend who just did a poker run, and he raised almost $6,000 for us. And we've been giving all the money that we raise in Atlanta because the Porsche Club out there has been so kind to us. And they've raised over the last 3 years, I think it's close to $30,000 that we've been able to give to Emory, which is also a center of excellence for Parkinson's. So everything we do is in the places that, are local to the people that are participating.
And the money goes for a cure.
Well, no. The money goes,
for
some
research?
of the money does. Some of the money goes for research because we save a portion that we give on, Giving Tuesday at the end of the year when you have all the matches.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
this year, because of all the matches and the places we gave money, our impact was $100,000.
That's huge.
It was huge. And that's because of everybody who contributes just $1.
Well, see, that's another important part. People forget, you don't have to, $1. Every dollar counts. If you have a group, an organization wants to do a fundraiser, wants to do a rally, wants to do a tour, $5,000, $2,000, $6,000, anything
it all
counts. It
adds
all
up.
adds up. And I think sometimes when I talk to people about organizations and things we try to do, I can't get up there because that's going to take a lot of time. No, every small, medium, large group can contribute.
Helps.
Every little thing adds up. If all the groups that have smaller events didn't do it, there's no way we'd be half as successful as we are.
Yeah.
So again, our event, the event coming on the 18th.
The event on the 18th is going to be an evening of, we're calling it Music in Motion.
Right.
There'll be a lot of music going on here. Motion is obviously about cars, but more importantly, it's about mobility for Parkinson's. So it's a play on words.
Yeah.
And we will have, everyone's going to have access to the museum. If you buy a VIP ticket, you get to come in an hour early and you get a signature drink and you get to hang out, an hour before the general group comes in. There'll be food stations all around. There'll be silent auction prizes, really good stuff.
Let's talk about that for a second, because I know Mindy and I will be working locally to try and get some auction prizes, but everyone who's watching this show, they can contribute with an auction prize and experience.
Yes.
Something that it makes a difference. Everything you consider helping, it might not be big to you, but it could be big to us.
100%.
Let Mindy,
Absolutely.
let Deb know so we can get involved.
Well, tell us about some of the local stuff, man.
Yeah.
Already, we've had some wonderful donations. We have a 2-night stay up at the Edgewood Resort with some
Beautiful.
dinner credit. We've got several baskets from some of our wonderful food eateries like Napa Sonoma and some of the wine distributors. We've got tickets to different shows, different concerts in town. Still hoping to get some. We've got tickets to the Reno Rodeo, basket from them, just a whole
We've got tickets
number.
to the Golden Knights in Las Vegas.
Tickets to the Golden Knights in Las Vegas. So a lot of different tickets, a lot of different local businesses too, and hopefully getting even more. So anybody has more to contribute, just let us know.
I want to make sure we say this at least a few times. So specifically, what's the website they go to
DriveTowardACure.org.
And we'll put that at the back, drivetowardacure.org. We want to make sure
and it's not towards, it's singular. DriveTowardACure.org.
And I said that like 5 times before we went on, but I said it wrong, even though you reminded me.
But the other point too, as far as that goes, we're going to have some bigger ticket items as well. We've got people that are car enthusiasts that are also musicians to go in with the theme. I mean, John Oates is a friend, and he's a Porsche guy. He's got an Emory Special Outlaw, and he was kind enough to sign a Taylor guitar for us, and we'll be auctioning that off. I've got a race helmet that I brought to Run Sport Reunion that I had signed by some of the Formula One drivers to go along with the theme of what you're going to have in here when we're there. And so I've got drivers like Derek Bell, Jackie Ickx, David Hobbs has signed it, from Formula One Racing, announcer. Who else? For those that like the TV stars that race, we've got Patrick Dempsey's signature on there. Got about 15 signatures. And so we'd like to team that up with something good. And we've also got Sean Cridlin wrote the Brumos Collection book. And it's I don't remember if it's 3 or 4 books that are part of it, but he did something really special in the automotive community. He took that Brumos Collection book, which is expensive. I think it retails for like $900 or $1,000. It's a whole collection. And he went to 12 different artists, automotive artists throughout the country that were regarded. And he had them each paint one of the outside book jackets for the whole casing of it. And so we were provided with Dwight Knowlton's, and he chose us as one of the charities of choice to auction this off. And I'm crossing my fingers that our friend Ranson Webster from the museum will offer a a trip to visit his collection here in Reno that we can put off with that book because he's got Brumos cars that are in his collection.
It's an amazing collection. One of a kind.
Yeah.
One of a kind.
So we've got fun stuff. We've got a reason to give.
So if any of those things sounded attractive to you, you want to put it on your mantle, in your living room, on a coffee table, just block it up and like fork knots. This is something you need to go to be part of. And if you're watching this show and you have something unique like that that's special, we would love to know about it, and it goes to a great, great cause.
Oh, and the other part that we forgot to mention is we're going to have a 45-minute panel discussion during that in the theater. And my friend Vanessa Williams is coming out. She's going to moderate the session for us. And Rashida Ali, who we're going to talk to in a few minutes, is going to be there. If any of you are off-road racing fans and know who Rod Hull was, he only participated and probably won the Baja 1000 at least 50 times and unfortunately passed away in 2019 from Parkinson's. But his granddaughter Shelby Hull has taken up his legacy. She built cars with him, she raced with him, and now she's racing on her own, and she's a Ford off-road racer. And she's got the original Bronco that we're hoping to show that her grandfather raced in the Baja. So, we've got good things coming.
That would be great. So what do you say we check and see if Rashida's on the line, and we'll bring her into the call.
That'd be great.
Rashida, how you doing?
Hi, how are you?
We're good. I'm so glad you joined us today, and I can't wait till you come to our event. Let me just introduce you real quick. This is Phil McDougall. He's the head of the museum here,
Hello.
National Automobile Museum.
You?
And Mindy is with the Parkinson's Support Center, Northern Nevada, who we're raising all the money for.
Awesome.
So,
Hi, Mindy. How are you? Thanks for everything that you do.
So we're excited.
We are. Let's
go to it, Phil.
Let's
you
jump right into it. Okay, so Rashida, we have a question for everybody. This is kind of a tradition here on What Drives Reno. What was your first car? And if you have a story that goes with it, feel free to share it. But your first car, do you remember what it was?
I do. So my first car, okay, I'm a twin. So can it include, because we shared a car, like when we first started driving. So my first official car, not that I bought, my grandfather bought me a gold, it was literally like a car from like Goldmember. It was like a gold Hyundai. And it was tiny, 2-door, and me and my twin shared it right outside of college. But the first car that I actually purchased was a red Chevy Cavalier, 4-door. And I was
4-door,
and I was so excited because it was the first car I bought, so it was a big deal.
Isn't that funny, though? We were just joking. Almost everybody remembers their first car. And when I first asked you the question, a big smile came up.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it was good memories. Those were the 90s. So, yeah. Flashback.
We're very excited to have you here. Thank you very, very much. We're talking about a lot of different things, including the big event on the 18th. So I'm going to let Deb and Mindy kind of take it from here. And
we're looking forward to it. Rashida's going to be on the panel with us, and it's absolutely not because her dad is Muhammad Ali. She is on the panel with us because she is a Parkinson's advocate. And she has been a close friend to the Barrow Neurological Institute in Arizona. And tell us a little about that. Tell us your involvement.
Well, Barrow is obviously near and dear to my heart because Barrow was an institute that teamed up with the Muhammad Ali Parkinson's Center, which was actually created by Dr. Lieberman, who convinced my dad to come forward and try to use his celebrity status and his power to be able to try to create an institute teamed up with Barrow to help diagnose people with Parkinson's. Because when he was first diagnosed in the early 80s, of course, at that time, he was misdiagnosed so many times because he was only in his 40s when he was diagnosed, and everyone sent him away. They were like, you don't have Parkinson's, you're just punch drunk. You can't possibly have Parkinson's in your 40s. So because he was misdiagnosed so many times, he felt that it was important to finally diagnose, especially people with young onset Parkinson's. Those are the people at that time was always being misdiagnosed and directed to other doctors. And so we already know with our information about Parkinson's is that the longer you wait to be diagnosed, the harder it is to finally get the right medication that you need to slow the symptoms of Parkinson's.
Yeah, that's crazy, because we were just talking about young onset Parkinson's earlier too, because we've got a car going out to the Grand National Roadster Show that is later going to be shown here, and we're going to auction it off in May, probably May or June. And it's going to a directive specifically for young onset Parkinson's, because it's amazing how many people under the age of 50 and even younger than that, because, the owner of this car, his son is 31 and was diagnosed 2 years ago. So, it's out there, and all of us are in this together. We're out there to build awareness. So
we sure are. We're building awareness, and also through something really fun, which is cars, and everyone loves to view cars, even if you're not an avid collector. My dad wasn't a collector, but if you can count all the cars that my dad was either given or bought for a family member or gave to a friend, it was numerous. So, but he really, really enjoyed driving his. And I have pictures for you, Deb. So you believe me, we have so many really fun pictures. The car that I really remember that my dad hung on to, because he gave a lot of his cars away, was like a cinnamon color Corniche Rolls Royce. And it was really a special car that my dad loved. And everywhere he moved, I was telling Deb the other day, everywhere he moved, he took it with him. So he left all the other cars. He also had a really cool, I think it was an Alfa Romeo that he loved too. But when he moved from LA to go back to Michigan, which was a training camp, I remember he had a garage just for his Corniche Rolls Royce. And when he lived in LA, all of the kids would kind of sit in the back seat of his car. And he would have it was a convertible, so he had the top down, and he would drive up and down Wilshire Boulevard, and he would just brag about, having all his kids in the car with him, and we'd wave to fans and things like that. My dad loved that car. And then, of course, when Parkinson's got a little challenging, where he couldn't drive anymore, he was heartbroken because he really loved driving his car. He just left it in the garage there. And then, of course, when he opened the museum in Louisville, Kentucky, his hometown, he had it on display in his museum because he loved it so much.
That's so cool. We right before the pandemic, we had planned an event, a driving event that was going to be our bourbon tour in Kentucky, because we do something at the racetrack there, and then we were going to do a drive all through the bourbon distilleries, and the hotel we were going to stay at was right near where his museum was. And they had a special room up there that also had some of the nostalgia and the memorabilia of your dad. And so the disheartening part was that we had to cancel that during the pandemic. But when we go back, you're coming with us, babe. We're doing
it. Let's go. Because I literally just set up a VIP tour for a friend of mine who runs a Parkinson's fitness program in Boston. And so they're going to Louisville. And I said, you have to go to the center with your group. And so he's going there actually this month in a couple weeks. So I set him up with a cool tour. So we got to go, you guys.
That's awesome. We will do it. That's a promise.
And a reminder again, because on the 18th, Rashida, you're going to be on the panel. We're going to go through a couple things. Is there anything specific that you would like to share with us and the viewers today? Things that you think people just need to know about, or maybe a pet peeve that people have a misconception? You just said something that's really important to me. Like, I did not realize how important it was for the early diagnosis, and how medicine, especially now, can help slow it down. Anything along those lines you think that the viewers would like to know, be interested in?
Yeah, I think, because when my dad was diagnosed, we were so young, so we were kind of we were familiar with Parkinson's. For us as a family growing up, Parkinson's was normal for us. So it was kind of like, oh, my dad has Parkinson's. It was really not a big deal. But when you have young families and you have kids who are smarter than their parents, like me, they have questions that parents have a hard time answering because it's a very complex condition. So one of the misconceptions about Parkinson's is that a lot of we call them Parkinsonians, I guess, they don't have, or at least my dad, because everyone's subjective, he didn't have a memory issue, because a lot of people were like, oh, does your dad know what I'm saying? And I said, yes, he does. He doesn't have a memory issue. It's just hard for him to be able to communicate and speak or walk as fast as he did before. So a lot of people don't realize that my dad was sharp as a tack. I mean, all the way up until the very end. He remembered names, faces, he remembered colors, he remembered people, places he used to go. And then I want to talk a little bit about some of the games that we would play with him, especially my kids who would play because they were younger. They didn't lose contact with him only because he had a hard time speaking. They had other ways to communicate with him, and that's drawing and playing. And I'd like to talk a little bit more about that, because even if you're not a kid, it's really fun to be able to learn really fun ways to communicate with people with Parkinson's, because it really doesn't interrupt their or hinder their self-esteem. A lot of Parkinsonians have a hard time speaking, so they feel insecure talking with family members because you can't hear them. So I can kind of talk a little bit about some things that we used to do just so my dad wasn't aggravated because he couldn't be heard all the time.
Yeah, please share it.
Well, my dad loved magic. So one of the things that he'd love to do is he would, when he traveled, he had a suitcase, a black suitcase of all his magic tricks. So when he would travel, he would pull out his bag of tricks, right? So one of his favorite tricks was the thumb trick. And the thumb trick is he had a handkerchief that stuck into a plastic thumb, and then he would hide it, and he would stick his fake thumb in his, inside of this part of his. I'm giving away the trick because I know my dad had to always give away the trick because he didn't want to deceive people. So he would have the fake thumb in this part of the thumb, and then he would put the handkerchief inside the fake one, and then he would kind of stuff his thumb in, and then when he would do this, the handkerchief would be gone. And so many people were like mesmerized by that trick because my dad kind of mastered it so well. And then he would do it so many times, and after everyone couldn't figure it out, then he would kind of reveal the secret. So because my dad was so into magic and really, really enjoyed that, my kids kind of, whenever we would go visit him in Scottsdale when he moved from Michigan, we would, my kids would bring their magic tricks and they would compare our magic tricks. And so on days, and we all know with Parkinson's, you can have a good day where you're talking really well. And my dad had good days where he would call us and we would talk to him for like 45 minutes. We were like, oh my God, Daddy, you sound so amazing. And then other days, it's barely a whisper. Mm-hmm. So on those days where it's challenging for my dad, my kids brought their magic tricks out and they were like, hey, we're not going, and they wouldn't say this, but they would kind of indirectly say, we're not going to impose or aggravate Poppy, because they called their grandpa Poppy, with speaking with us because he was having a hard time. Let's just do magic tricks for him. And then he would light up really bright because he would, it would bring a smile to his face that we were interacting with him non-verbally. And my dad was also a very good artist, so he would draw lots of pictures for my kids. And also I have photos to show you, Debs, of really great photos and pictures that my dad would draw for the kids. And so that's another way that they could non-verbally interact, just without aggravating him with, hey, I can't understand what you're saying.
No, that's good for people to know, especially people, I think I did have an impression that just because they don't have the ability to speak as clearly, that there might be other, less, I'm not sure how to say it, but they weren't as sharp just because they weren't able to speak. But you're saying your dad was sharp as a tack. And that's going to be really frustrating. They want to communicate, especially someone like your father who was an extrovert.
Sure. He sure was. And one thing about my dad was everyone's symptoms are very different. I mean, right, Mindy? It's like you can't pick two Parkinson's patients that have the exact same symptoms, even same medication. You can't even pick their extension of how long that medication will last with one patient. So my dad, being the Louisville Lip and the one who loved the camera and loved to talk, it was frustrating for him because one of his symptoms was slurred speech. And so for someone that loved to talk and never met a camera he didn't love, it was frustrating for him to get out there and not be able to speak as much. And so in the beginning, when he was first diagnosed, he kind of shied away from the media for a good 10 years right after diagnosis, because he was trying to, one, figure out, hey, how am I going to live long term with this condition? And two, how do I communicate with the fans that I miss so much?
That's hard. That's really hard.
Well, that's just a sample of what we're going to be talking about, the panel with Vanessa Williams. She'll be there to moderate it with us. Is anything else you want to specifically share with us? We're excited to meet you in person. I'm excited to meet you. I know everyone here in Reno will be excited. It's for a great cause. Anything else you'd like to add?
I'm just excited for you to come out and see the museum and for us to share more about you and your dad and what you're doing. So I can't
Well, I just heard, Deb, that you have a really pretty immense car background, which I just found out, which is amazing. I mean, I'm looking forward to spending more time with you about your experience with cars. But also, I didn't even know there was an auto museum in Reno. So I'm excited to see that.
The National Automobile Museum.
I didn't even know that. So I actually, and Deb, we didn't talk about this, but we could talk about this more at the event. But my dad went to Reno to visit my son. He played football for Bishop Gorman High School, and their championship game was in Reno. That was back in 2016. It was my son's sophomore year of high school. And my dad was going to his championship game, and it was in Reno, and it was so cold. I remember my dad sitting in the bleachers at the school. We were freezing, but people were coming up to my dad wanting pictures and autographs, and my dad was just so gracious with everyone and had so much fun there. And there were a lot of students there that was at the game that were like, "What is Muhammad Ali doing here?" They were like, "What is he doing sitting outside in the cold at this football game?" But we had so much fun in Reno. I remember it being so cold, but we really bonded with my dad. And my dad got a chance to see my son play football, which was really great for him to see, because his grandkids are kind of carrying on his legacy in terms of being able to create their own legacy in their own right in sports. So it was kind of fun.
Well, we're kind of proud of the biggest little city in the world here, and we get a chance to have you and show off the museum and show off the community. They're very, very passionate, and we're excited to have everybody here and kick off this event on April 18th.
April 18th it is.
And remind people the website, how to get a hold of it.
drivetowardacure.org. And the first thing you'll see on the slide carousel is about Music in Motion. Click on that and get your tickets.
Great.
Super easy.
Rashida, thank you so much for joining us today. We're very, very grateful.
We'll see you soon.
So much. We look forward to seeing you guys in Reno. And you know what, you guys, come out, please support however you guys want to support. Bring awareness and also bring funds to try to find a cure for Parkinson's.
Great. Absolutely. Thanks, Rashida. Thank you very much.
We'll talk soon.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.